And welcome everybody. Welcome to the webinar day. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Anya Chrysanthon and I'm the Chief Communications Officer here at Anewgo. And I'm going to be your hostess with the mostest today, as always. Our webinar topic today is building value through digital innovation. As you are all aware, we're moving more into this digital first realm, and of course most buyers start their journey online, so we want to make sure that when they come into your sales office that experience is equally matched and you're not left behind doing everything on paper and pen, that they are experiencing kind of the same experience that they had initially online. I am very excited to introduce our panelists for today. Joining us is Roland Nairnsey. Roland is one of the most well-known names in new home sales training industry. And what makes Roland different from other sales trainers in the industry is that he's personally sold about 1 billion, that's billion with a B, in real estate sales. So he's really been there and done it. He's been through just about every single sales situation you can imagine. So Roland's really going to be able to speak from his personal experience, and he really knows what works. Roland is also a published author. I have his book right here. So you guys stay until the end because Roland is going to be giving away 3 copies of his book today. You're going to have to make sure you're paying attention because he's going to ask you some questions about this webinar. And of course, joining us is Beth Byrd. Beth is Anewgo's VP of Sales. And if you're not familiar with Beth, one of the cool things about Beth is that before joining Anewgo, she was on your side. She was working for a home builder for pretty much her entire career. So again, she's been in your shoes, and she really brings a lot of experience in that new home sales and marketing from builder's perspective. And of course, now she is a pro with home builder technology. With that, I am going to hand it over to Beth and Roland. I'm going to be monitoring the chat throughout this webinar, so please be sure to say hello and ask your questions as they come up. We'll be sure to address all the questions, or as many of them as we can. With that, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anya, so much. And thanks, Roland, for joining me today. You know, you and I have known each other for a long time.
Exactly.
And you trained me in sales. And so I thought I wanted this to be a conversation that everybody gets to listen to about how do we integrate technology into the sales training process? Because often when we're talking about new home technology, it's in the marketing world. And yet, like Anya said, our buyers really need to have a consistent experience from the time that they're looking online to the time that they're face-to-face with a salesperson. So you and I kind of talked about this a little bit ahead of time. We want to walk everyone through the customer journey.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Beth and Anya, for organizing this. I really appreciate it. I'm big fans of both of you and what you do and Anewgo. And you're right, Beth. We met many times when you were managing sales for the home builder. So I'm so excited about the journey you've been on, how well you've done, and proud of your successes. What I really want to make sure that we get into too is that we're not just going to align with the digital world for the sake of it. The idea is to increase sales and increase conversion ratios. So right out of the gate, it is, Anya is absolutely right. We definitely want to know what the buyer is experiencing, but we also want to create a better experience when the customer comes in and make more sales as a result of really leveraging all the great technology that we have available now. So it just gets better and easier if the sales teams are really smart about how they deploy the technology that's at our fingertips. So yeah. Back to you. So thank you again.
Awesome. Well, when you and I were talking through the sales process, initially we started talking about when that buyer comes in the door of your mom home. And then we said, well, hold on. Let's talk about what happens before that, because there is opportunity really for the salesperson to jump in before meeting a person face-to-face.
Definitely. Yeah, because today, just to lay out what we're going to do in the next 50 minutes or so, we are going to do a deep dive into each part of the sales process. We like to break it down into 3 parts, beginning, middle, and end. It's simple. There's a pre-moment going on where we shouldn't just be waiting for leads to come in. So thanks to the technology, we should be coordinating with marketing and getting access to the back end of our CRMs. Is that how you would express it? And
Yeah.
find out what our buyers are doing, what are they looking at, and then that way we can get that intel ahead of time. So please elaborate, since it's more the world you come from.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm going to share my screen a couple times as we meet here so that you can see a couple of examples of tools that we've talked about. So this is an example of the back end of the insights on
Oh, look
Anewgo.
at you.
This is
Great.
lead registration. I used a junk email here and came on and clicked around in our demo app. And you can see all this information about when I visited and what I liked and what's in my shopping cart right now. And there are several tools that you probably have in your toolbox that do this, whether you're a Anewgo customer or you
Yeah.
work with Novihome. Novihome has some great features that does this, or your CRM, Lasso, HubSpot.
Yes.
Many of them are tracking buyers' activities. And so the question is, are you doing your homework? Are you jumping on and looking at this so when they come in, you already know that I like the Glenwood and the Churchill and the Woodcrest. This is my focus.
Exactly.
I was reading the book Unreasonable Hospitality for our
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we talked about that. Just want to make
yeah,
we'll get there. I can't believe it. Yeah, it's an
yeah,
amazing book.
exactly. And they talk about the preparation that they would have for a guest coming into the restaurant.
Yes.
When they had a reservation, they would do research to find out who is this buyer, what is important to them, recognizing their face. And I thought, if a restaurant can do that, how much more
Right.
should we be doing that as a
Right.
salesperson, doing your homework ahead of time, preparing, figuring out who's this customer that's coming in to
Yep.
meet with me.
Yeah, no, it's a great book. I'm really glad you mentioned that. It's something that should be on everyone's desk. But yeah, preparation meets opportunity. As a sales coach, one of the things I spend a lot of my life doing is talking to salespeople and sales managers about all the activities that we should be engaging in on a daily basis. I just wrote a nice article for Builder. It was an article about habits and getting into sales habits. So things that we should be doing. There are very few real habits we have in life. Mine is getting up early, making coffee, blah, blah, blah. There's a few, hygiene is a habit. You have to do it. But some of the sales things, we do them occasionally when we think about it, or we do it reactively if we're having a slow month, but that's not the way we should be doing it. This is our career. So between regular follow-up, prospecting, all those things, one of the other elements that we should now be doing is looking at what are our buyers doing online, our B-backs, people that have come in and not bought yet, and how do we get that information? So as you said, maybe you have to coordinate with marketing or your manager to get access to the back end. But what if your client has already built their dream home online? You just need to know that, and then you just happen to text them or email or call them, whatever your favorite method of getting in touch with them, telepathy. I just thinking about you, Beth, and I would love to invite you back out to look at that home site that just became available. And lo and behold, they're like, how did you know? It's like one of that world we live in where we think about something, buying something, and Amazon suddenly sends us a picture of our favorite blue shirt. And like, well, how did you know? I was thinking about that. So we have that ability now, thanks to you and the technology at our fingertips. So a salesperson could be using their time, not just working hard, but working smart and really making sure they know that your top prospects, when are they online? What are they looking at? Find their file and so forth. So yeah, so that's the preparation meets opportunity, of course. So being prepared with that before they come in is wonderful. All right, should we move to Act One when they come in and talk about the buyer experience there?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay,
I always
perfect.
love, you are so good, Roland, at coming up with ways to make things memorable. And I love
Oh,
that
you're
you
very
use
kind.
the analogy of Act One, Act Two, Act Three to think through the sales
Sure.
process and what happens when a customer comes in. So maybe elaborate and tell them
Okay.
how does that work? What's Act One?
Okay, well, thank you for that. Yeah, I have a modest background in screenwriting, and so one was made with James Earl Jones years ago, and so they teach you in screenwriting there's 3 acts. But I love it for sales because it's so simple and everything is linear. That you can't close if you can't open, et cetera, et cetera. So Act One really is the greeting, and then it's the all important discovery process and the presentation with props. And in the past the props have been static on the wall, which I still think are not a bad idea in case technology fails us that day or we're not good at the technology. But having both is what we're going to get into. So Act One is when they come into your sales office, sales experience. I hope it's 10 or 15 minutes of really getting to know a customer before you go out the door and show them. Act Two is your model demo, or I've got some Canadian friends that might be on here, show home demo if you're in Canada, a boot time there. Anyway, so Act Two is the show home and then going out a model and narrowing down to one of a kind, finding the home site. That. And then Act Three is closing, which we're going to talk about. Never negotiate on your feet, always close at your seat, which is a recurring theme to sit down and recap. And how many times do you do that? I happened upon that when I was one of many salespeople in a sales office, and I did okay, one of 10, which is quite a lot. And then I one of 10 salespeople. And then I realized that the few sales I made my first year, I recap with everybody to get to the sale. I thought, why don't I just do it every time? What am I messing around for? So I can't wait to get to the end of this webinar and now incorporate all that technology that you have at your fingertips to make that recap even more meaningful, where you're narrowing down to the home site, etc. So that's Act Three, and then even technology in the follow-up is important. But to go back to what you're saying, to break it down into those 3 acts and really get good at each one. I've had salespeople that are really good at building rapport and some of the discovery, but fail to narrow down or fail to close. I got people that really close strong, which is great, but they're not very good at rapport building. Hunters, gatherers, all that stuff. So getting good at all 3 and the preparation and the follow-up is when you get to mastery.
Act One, when they come in the door, let's imagine you're a salesperson, you're in your model home, your show home, your sales center, you're meeting a customer for the first time, and we're going through discovery. One of the questions I remember that you taught us to ask is, how did you hear about us? Have you visited our website? And what in particular caught your attention?
Oh my goodness. I love you for that. Exactly. Yeah. As opposed to what brings you in, my car. How can I help you? Just looking. Can I help you? No. Are you looking for a home date? No. I mean, all ridiculous questions that we've all asked, as opposed to what Beth just said. How did you hear about us? Great. What was it on the website? What was it on Facebook? Oh, you've actually built your home online. Can I have a look at it? And all of a sudden, you've gone so much further forward in the sales process than questions that that might get you good answers. So that how did you hear about is really the foundation of what we want to talk about in our discovery, to find out what they know already.
And I think that's where, like you said, we can really fast forward, because we're not serving the customer well when we insist on going through the same questions with everybody every time. That's something that you've taught me, is you've got to react and respond to the customer, and it's planned, not canned. And so it may be that when you ask them what in particular on the website caught your attention, if they say, well, I kind of like that Woodcrest plan. Oh, awesome. And then you start saying, did you play around with the interactive floor plan or the colors? And if they say yes, you've jumped way forward in your process with them. And you can skip over a lot of questions that you might have asked that wouldn't be serving the customer well. You can get right to what they need.
This is really great. I'm so excited we're aligning technology and sales training and sales processes, because the 2 things have to fit together. They are in synergy with each other, and we're collaborating. So how did you hear about it? What was it? Tell me more about that. What did you like about the Apex plan or the Heath Mount, whatever it was that they liked? Now, we all know that the home they built, that might not be the one they build, because we might find out their time frame is sooner or later. Budgetarily, is that a word, budgetarily?
I don't know, but now it
That'd
is.
be good. Budgetarily, that's a new word. From a budget point of view, maybe it's more than they had in mind, or they don't realize the home site premiums or something. But it doesn't matter. What a great connection you've got with them. You'll find out hot buttons, what they liked about it, who in their family is going to enjoy each space, what they don't like about it, or their current city. You can learn so much from all of that. And if it is the home they like and that's the one they want to build, then of course that's even better. There are other discovery questions, of course, the when, the value range, other things we want to get into. I'm a big believer in chunking, paraphrasing things back, but we're talking about how to align with the technology. So so in Act One, you've got that question. Hey, Anya.
Hey, I wanted to pipe
Welcome
in
back.
here with my marketing hat and say that your marketing person will also thank you for that.
Yes.
Because that will let your marketing people know how are people actually discovering you, so that they can know what's working and what's not working. So definitely don't just ask it and forget it. Note it down in your CRM. Talk to your marketing people.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a total win-win because what if you've got, I don't know, where I worked for a while, we actually had newspaper ads, which was interesting because people don't do that very much. And it drove in traffic, but not sales. And the sales were coming from organic stuff or the website leads or whatever. So that was so important when we drilled in, how did you hear about us? What was it? And we found out so much good intel to go back to marketing and get more of those leads. Maybe it was Facebook or whatever it was, but at least that way you know. So it really does, it does work together well. So once you've got that basic discovery, now you want to give a presentation. It's a three-legged stool is what we teach. It doesn't start with the home. It's the builder story and understanding its location and community. So Beth, can you sort of walk us through how you've really improved that process so people have a whiz-bang experience that is really emotional and connective and will draw them in to really want to go look and fall in love with what you're showing?
Absolutely. The important thing to remember here is that good discoveries will enable us to provide a tailored presentation. And so it's important to remember, I'm showing you some cool technology options. If you just go through the technology and do it the same every time, it's not going to serve your client well. But if
No.
you think about that discovery and you know, hey, they mentioned they have a dog, you know
Yeah.
that they like outdoor living, that they've got kids or grandkids or whatever, you're going to use the technology based on what you've learned about them. So
Right.
what I have popped up here, this is actually the screensaver for our Sales Center app.
Oh, okay.
Typically in a model home, this is on a large touch screen on the wall. I have some
Right.
builders who use iPads for this, which the iPad is also great. We'll talk about that in Act 2 a little bit more, but
Okay.
as a more mobile option. Sometimes we know while we want to meet in the model home first, maybe we don't have a model home in that community. We just have a finished inventory home, or maybe we're meeting them in an inventory home rather than the model because that's where the buyer asked to meet. This is a mobile solution that you can carry around anywhere on an iPad. In a pinch, you can use your phone. I've
Yeah.
used my phone to demonstrate these. So rather than having all the static pieces, which again, some of those are still important. I think the model homes are best when they look more like a model and less like
Mhm.
marketing, when it's like a
Right.
house, and the marketing pieces are better contained in technology.
What you said at the beginning, this isn't just to lead them through with a let me tell you kind of a process. It's let me ask you. And so when you look at this, where are you moving from? What's important to you in an area? You know, what location features? That slide you had, it's like you got into my mind already because I do like to garden. What else? I do like to barbecue. I love dogs. I like people too. So you had kids and stuff. But it was even that for me would speak to me in an emotional way. And that's what we got to remember is that buying is emotion first. We're connecting with you, the individual salesperson. They're starting to fall in love with whatever. Most of us are selling something aspirational. So it's a dream to move towards something. And so it's not just let me walk you through a bunch of slides in this sort of one-sided kind of way. It's dual. It's both. You're involving them. And how do you do that? You do that with lots of involvement. Like, what does this look like? How does that work for you? So yeah, done that way, it's absolutely brilliant. That's all I have
Right.
to say.
And maybe you've learned in the discovery that they're moving because of a new job. Maybe the first thing they need to do is look at an area map and see what's around. How long is my
Mhm.
commute going to be? Where are the
Yep.
kids going to go to school? What restaurants are going to be an
There we
option?
go.
Because they don't know the area and they're moving. Or maybe they want more room for their kids to play. They want to
Mhm.
have a neighborhood pool for the kids. Understanding their why, you can
Right.
take them to what is most important to them. And we learned macro and micro back in the day from you, Roland, right? Macro is the big picture of life in the
Right.
area, micro being the community level. Those things
Mhm.
are important to not just talk about. When you
Yep.
say, oh, there's a neighborhood pool, well, that's great. They see this picture and they start imagining days by the pool, and it takes on a whole new meaning in their mind.
Definitely. Brilliant. We have to remember just just because you said it doesn't mean the buyer got it. We have to hear things or see things between 3 to 8 times in order to understand it. So when you're chatting with them and you're guiding them through this and showing them images, now they clearly get it. And when you ask things like, "What do you like to do in your spare time?" Oh, tennis or pickleball, I think I saw. And you show the image of the courts that you have, or will be coming soon. because a lot of our lives is spent sort of selling the dream of what's coming with pre-construction or next community or whatever. So having this app or having the ability to walk them through it's an absolute game changer. You're assured that you're going to close more sales because people will fully get it. They're involved with it. But only again if you do it in a way where the way you're explaining, where you're asking questions like where are you moving from, what school is important, which ones, those kinds of conversations. So it's not a sales pitch. It really is a real conversation full of stories where you learn about them and what motivates them. So yeah, whether it's on the wall, on a TV, whether it's in your hand on an iPad or a phone, either one, you'll have the flexibility to really connect with them. Just be a great human being that's connecting with your customers, but do it in a way where you're, aligning with these images. I think it's amazing. What a great way to show the macro, micro, and community to somebody in a way that they'll really get it and experience it.
Absolutely. I mean, we know people learn in different ways, right? Some
Yeah.
people learn by listening, some people learn by seeing, some people learn by
Right.
doing. We've already covered the seeing and hearing, and then hopefully after this, we're going to go out to do the
Yes.
doing, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about that later. But
Yeah.
the emotion that this conjures, and that's what we know. Selling is transferring emotion, right? It's
Yeah.
getting them
Absolutely.
excited, bringing that
Right.
buying temperature up. And so resources like this, utilizing technology, is a far
Right.
better way to do it. I think what it would take marketing to make one of these pictures of everything to hang on the walls in your model home, like every room in your model would be covered with pictures.
Right.
And that
Right.
wouldn't be practical. So we can show a whole lot more here when we're talking about that. And you mentioned the builder story. This is just a sample
Thank you.
slide
Yes.
here, but
Good.
they were curious, like, who is this? Who's this builder? What's important? What's different about this builder? So there's an opportunity
Right.
for you to capture that information. And I want to jump back and mention something we haven't said yet, and that is
Good.
sometimes people are interacting with this without you. Maybe
Yeah.
you're with another customer in the kitchen doing
Hmm.
a demonstration,
Interesting.
and
Yeah.
somebody comes in the front door. If you've got
Right.
this there and they're playing around with it while they're waiting for you, they're going
Yeah.
to get much further down the road. When you finally can get back to them and talk to
Yeah.
them, they'll
Yeah.
already be excited and interested.
No, I think it's great. And you were saying something earlier, which was interesting about a home should feel like a home. And I totally agree. Ideally, if you have enough homes to build, you'll have a sales office, maybe in a garage with a separate entrance in. And I love that. For me as a salesperson, that was always the best when you had that control and they came in and you took them back around and demonstrated. But maybe you're inside of a home and you're absolutely right. You don't want to litter up a home with stuff that feels businessy. If you had to take a room in the front, if you had one, that would be great. What I love about this is it gives you such flexibility. So I've worked for so many builders, we didn't have models. We had to would build something, sell it, move to the next. Well, now you've got the ability to be mobile and be fluid, have it on an iPad perhaps, and show people the information. And as long as you're getting involvement from them, I talk about FBI, feature benefit involvement. As long as you're finding out how does that work for you, what do you think, which would you prefer, then it'll be almost self-guided where it's going to work. If you're just telling them a lot of stuff, again, it's not going to be as effective. So yeah, you're right. If it's up on a wall, they could have done it already. If you're with them, you have a choice as to where you decide to go through this. But it is so important. We work with so many on your land builders, on your lot builders. So the actual location part of it really isn't as important. It's not macro, micro. It's builder, builder, builder instead. And so building out the builder story, showing the design studio and talking about warranty and the seamless communication or whatever it's going to be. If you can show that in images, people go, oh, well, you guys are different. You do stand out from the crowd. So either way, it's a win-win to sort of leverage the technology in a way that is emotional and collaborative with your customer. I love it.
Absolutely. Well, why
Yeah.
don't we then go into Act Two? Maybe explain to
Yes.
the group a little more. What's Act Two? I'm going to let you run this, and then
Well,
while
you're so
you're
kind.
talking, I may kind of pull up some examples of
Okay.
how I
Yeah.
would use technology for Act Two.
With all the transitions between the acts is let's go do something. It's not would you like me to take you into the model or whatever. If you have a model, it's let's go look at the home together, and you're going back out hopefully through the front to show them the outside in. If you're not in a model or you want to go straight to a move-in ready, or what I like to call a showcase home, then you'll go let's go look at that. And what we've talked about, Beth, is to try to start from the outside in to really to build value for that. So if you're driving to a move-in ready home, we're not going to park in the driveway. driveway. We'll park across the street. We'll look up at the outside of the home and we'll talk about it. I have a sort of not something new, something that I want to. Focusing on it with training and coaching is to really build value before you go in the home. So you would stop, you look around the community, talk about what a beautiful part of the neighborhood you're in, talk about architectural details, sidewalks, whatever else the customer should be experiencing. And then let's focus on the home. If it's a move-in ready home, then you're pretty much looking at that home building value. If they want to build a home, then of course this is where the app would come in again, and you can give choices. So if it didn't have homes on the street and this was the first one, and I said, would you prefer coastal, farmhouse, traditional, or craftsman? They wouldn't know what I'm talking about because there's nothing to look at. So that's where you could have the phone in your hand or the iPad and go, here's the same home. We're showing it as a farmhouse. We also have the option over here to make it more of a coastal, or here it is with the artisan. Let me slow down and look at what I would actually show to them. Which one of these would work best? Oh, wow. Okay. What is it about the coastal that you like? That would be amazing. When we get back to my office, I'll make a note of that. So in other words, you've elevated from just isn't this nice? I hope you like something one day, to we're giving choices to get commitments, which we take to the closing table in a very gentle way. It's not that sort of Jekyll and Hyde kind of closing. It's just very easygoing where we're showing the home this way. We have this choice or this choice. What are you thinking? Great. So this one will work well. I'll make a note of it. And when we go back, we're going to really sit down and close at our seat, and we'll build the home with them. I don't know that somebody would want to get into all the detail. I mean, unless it's an appointment to come back, then absolutely they would. On a first visit, just knowing you have choices and getting a feeling as to what they want would be great, where we're not overwhelming them with too many choices, but just showing is really the key here. So it's amazing. What else would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I'll insert there. So when I was demonstrating a home with a customer, and I would have my tool open and I'd just flip through these colors, and they'd be watching because I'm planting a seed.
Nice.
Because after I've done several different customizations on my technology, whether it's my iPad, my phone, my computer, through our demonstration, I would say to them later, do you want me to send you a link to this so you can play with this when you get home? And I never had somebody say no. It was the easiest
Right.
way to get a registration from anybody, because
Sure.
they
Yeah.
see you interacting with these tools and they think, that's fun. I want to try that. I want to design it on my own. So while you're not at the level of making a decision with them, you are able to really get in there and demonstrate and plant seeds for further down the road.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'd be easy to come from this webinar and go, oh, Roland and Beth want my salespeople to stand out there and show them every choice under the sun before we go and say, no, we're not really saying that. The idea is that you have choices. Let's get an easy decision. So the architectural style could be easy. Is it coastal? Is it more what our farmhouse looks like, or is it the more artisan, traditional, whatever? Yeah, okay, we're leaning towards that. We go back. Let's sit down and we'll build this on paper for you. What I want to do is set up the concept that we're going to be going back for a recap. If they don't argue with that or don't disagree, then your chance of making a sale is increased by about 70%, because that recap is, by being able to do that together with them, that's what will happen. If they don't have time for that recap that day, then yeah, you can certainly send them the link, but we'd like to get them back as well to really build the home on paper with them. So yeah, it's just an amazing tool. So that's outside. So it sounds as though, Beth, you're leaning towards more of the farmhouse with sort of a beigey theme. Does that sound about right?
I think so.
Okay, good. When we go back, I'll make sure that we bring that up and I'll show you what that looks like. Would that be okay?
That sounds great.
All right. Now I'm going to appoint me to go back to my office afterwards. All right. So now we're in the home itself. So we definitely want, if it's a model, we want the model to do the talking for us and get them excited. But maybe it's a home under construction. It's a framing or those kinds of scenarios. So how can you help them to really understand what it is that they're looking at? And so this is, I think for me, is where something like this is just invaluable.
And let me jump back, because I didn't show this to you when we started, is when we're looking here at plans, we can actually also go right to inventory. So if you've got somebody and you're trying to demonstrate a home under construction, like you said, paint that picture, or inventory is what they're leaning towards, we can jump on here and look at exactly what has been selected for this particular home.
which is critical. So that's again one of the things that I nag the most. I nag my poor builders about is that this isn't inventory is one of a kind. It's a special home with its own address and its own unique selling features. And so as soon as you've made those selections, it's integral for the salesperson to build that home, get all that information, build a file on it. I do like having a flyer as well, something tangible that you can come back and recap. But putting it on on your technology is also amazing. So as you're going through it, you can say, look, I have two Cambridges available. I have one over here that's got sort of more gray and white with a white quartz counters. I got more this one that's more beige with wood cabinets. Which do you think would look? Okay, great. We'll lean towards the white and gray. Let's go look at that one. And you can do that all by literally showing them what their choices are going to be. And then that information goes on MLS, Realtor.com, Zillow. So now the whole world gets to see what those finishes are. Really, just when you've broken ground, if that's when you're making selections, you don't have to wait to market your homes until they're finished anymore. And that buyer now gets that information at their fingertips. So there are different ways to leverage it. But really, this is a little harsh now, but it's inexcusable to be building move-in ready, showcase homes, whatever we're going to call them, and not have these pieces assembled so you can show the buyer, this is exactly what we're planning to put in this home.
Yeah,
Make
that's
sense?
right.
Yeah.
And when you have these tools, rather than having your architect have to draw a new version
Right.
for your flyers,
Oh, yeah.
you can create that on-demand exterior and floor plan. So your sales team has
Amazing.
the resources to create a brochure. And we're going to talk about brochure feature too when we come back to action.
Yeah.
I'll hold on that.
No, but it's really a good point. Most of my life as a salesperson or as a sales director, we pretty much had the plan and we just would circle, here's your bumped out bay window and the breakfast nook, here's your patio option. But so much better to create the plan the way it's actually going to be in real life. And then look at this. This is so emotional. It's just so nice. There we go. So here's your home. Where you're leaning towards the wooden cabinets or white? Well, I want the white. I reacted to that. Do you want the counter to be the same color? Or are you thinking of changing that to a blue or gray? Oh my goodness, yeah, it looks great. So there's no need for them to guess at it. And any downfall, like myself, if I had a lack of imagination, you can just stumble over this.
I know I'm jumping the gun here on the closing, but a lot of our builders will use the actual plan of the home that they have designed in the sales contract instead of circling, like you say,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot more powerful. There's a lot less room for error that way. Having worked with so many builders, as a builder in Texas I work with, did almost 1,000 homes in a year, which is a lot of on your lot homes. They had a sales team of over 40 people, including online sales counselors. There were always about 5 salespeople that seemed to outsell the rest. Just their conversion ratios were higher. What the 5 people had in common, they were all very charming and nice, but what they had in common was that they did this with the customer every time. That they would bring them back and they wouldn't send them away to go build the home on paper. They would narrow it down with them. They go, let's bring it up on the screen together. In Act 3, that would be for us. And they would say, okay, this is the home you like the most, the Cambridge. Let's look at that. What kind of a kitchen feature? They wouldn't necessarily pick out colors. They get an idea of it, but things about island shapes and choices, sinks or something that might come up, and certainly any of the structural features. And then they would print it, price it, close it, basically. So instead of sending them away, they just made that decision to create urgency, to create connect. Well, first it's connection over the home and they fall in love with it. Then it's FOMO, of fear of missing out, because now you've priced it and it's dated and maybe that price will change later. So, it's just a win-win, but it's all anchored around the actual emotion of the home that they're now falling in love with, thanks to the technology of showing them what they're getting. So yeah, they're pretty powerful.
So let's wrap up Act 2. And I know one of the things that we talk about, okay, we've demonstrated the home. Let's say we're in a model home. What's the first thing that we say? Okay, next step after the model, if your buyers have time, let's go
look at a home site maybe, or let's go pick out your home site. Would that be it? Yeah. So absolutely, we got to get it narrowed down. If you don't narrow it down with them, we know we can't sell a home. I think everybody on this webinar would know that. But the way that you do it, so yeah, instead of just having a map, now you can hover over the ones that would be available. Maybe you've got your fit list if it's pre-construction and the home they like only fits on a few home sites, so you're not going to make that mistake. That will narrow their focus down. Maybe there's an exposure they like, a certain kind of a view that they like, and now but perhaps you had 20 to 30 home sites they thought, but now there's only one or two that would really make sense based upon narrowing it down using the technology that you're showing them.
Yeah, so I jumped back to the beginning to the home sites where we're looking at everything. We were in the path of I've picked a plan, where can I put it? But let's
Good.
say they're interested in a couple of plans. Well, let's see, where's the Glenwood offered, or where's the Cambridge offered? Or let's look at what's under construction or inventory, or what's available. Maybe home site size is important. Maybe they only want a bigger
Yeah.
lot. Or
Yeah.
you know what? I hate mowing. Let's look at only the smaller lots. So we
There we go. Yeah.
filter that.
Yeah.
Or my budget isn't going to allow the most expensive premiums. Let's set our budget on premium. And this will
Yes.
update in real time the
Wow.
home sites. So now I have narrowed it down to two, and that's something we talk about, right? Narrowing it down
Yep.
because they can feel overwhelmed when they're looking at a
Right.
map, but there's too many options. But now I have
Exactly.
two. Well, let's go look at those two that would be a good fit for you.
Right, exactly. It's amazing, and we're walking out the door. It's not. Would you like to go look at the home site? It's let's go look at the home site. Because if you and we're not letting them do a drive-by, that's not gonna work. We need to go with them so that we come back with them and then can recap and close. And of course, if they're out of time that day, then we'll make an appointment to come back and do that in terms of aligning the sales process. But have a look at how I don't know that number, but it looks about 18 to 20 home sites illuminated, and all of a sudden, by whatever you just did, you've now narrowed it down to maybe 1 to 3, and even then you can narrow that down before you go out and look, and maybe there's a left garage, right garage, that kind of stuff, side entry garage. I mean, there's so many things that you could put in there that could help narrow down that choice. Have you found, Beth, that certain buyers would prefer to put more money in the home and finishes, other prefer to put it in the home site if they had a choice?
Oh, it totally varies.
Right.
Some people are more about the home site and others are more about the finishes. It's really split. And that's where that discovery, really there's continued discovery. We're always discovering. So discovery is happening during demonstration. All those questions, which do you like better? Which option do you prefer, is giving you information to help you guide them.
It's perfect. And perhaps when I came in, I thought that home site that looks down the length of the lake was the one I had to have. But when I look at the premium, and then you've shown me what I really want in my home, and now I know I do want courts, I want the gourmet kitchen, I really prefer the patio extension. Maybe I'll compromise and go with one that's slightly less expensive to get what I want. But you can do that so much more nimbly as opposed to multiple visits. You could hopefully figure it out with them and give them control. The way to do it is to ask questions, and we could do it this way. You'd be approximately 600 on that big lake view, or we could keep you in the lower fives if you were to go with this view and put more in those finishes. Which would you like to go? Oh no, we definitely want those finishes, and 5.25 really is our budget. So yes, that looks perfect. So yeah, so all sorts of ways to share the info in a way where the buyer feels like you're talking with them, not at them. I love it.
I remember when I sold new construction, I had this big binder with lot fits on it, and you'd flip through to the plan that they want and try to go down the list to see which you're gonna go.
Yeah.
So this is certainly much quicker and easier and visually much more pleasing way.
It's amazing. Yeah, I think it's one of 3 recurring nightmares that I'll have. One is selling a home site that's sold already or the home doesn't fit. And show of hands, who's done that? You come home and if I don't know, who's supposed to? So that's a complete loss of faith, and you wish the earth would open up and swallow you. The other is being late with homework and not being prepared for the builder show.
Well, you know, another one I'll add to it is selling a home in the same color as the neighbors, which actually
thank you. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Allows you to put exclusion, so you can exclude certain colors. So
I love it.
when you're selling, you don't have to try and go find the past 2 contracts, right? Across the street next to what colors did they choose? Did they choose colors? So this can be eliminated. I mean, so many mistakes can be eliminated with this.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, and it's you know, we were saying earlier, this is about increasing conversion ratios. So maybe if you make a mistake or not ready that day, the buyer might not come back. Now, we all know about appointments, and bringing them back with a purpose is wonderful, but maybe that's not their agenda. Maybe they're only in town for a couple of days, and your ability to really know your stuff and narrow down to one of a kind, have them fall in love is a game changer. Now they're going to, if they don't buy that day and come back for an appointment a day or two from now, they're going to come back wanting to revisit that home that they're starting to fall in love with, not starting all over again. So it's going to accelerate the time frame and increase the amount of homes that you sell either way. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking at all the home sites. None of the ones that are in white look bad to me. I think it's just a matter of having a conversation about how the home would situate, what the investment's going to be, and I'm a big fan of talking exposure and that kind of stuff. So sunrise, sunset. So there we go. All right. So then you would go out on the home site with your home plan. You show them what the home would look like on their home site with your phone, with your iPad, or if it's a move-in ready, you'd have the flyer already if it's under construction, so you could show them. Correct. And then you walk them through that home, get them excited, and then do what? Ask for the sale, close. Right. So that's very, and whatever way you ask for the sale, in my book, Mastery of Selling, I talk about your closing questions should be clear, concise, and comfortable. In other words, it's got to sound like a closing question. So if I was to say to you, Beth, what are your thoughts? You might go, I don't know, I'm hungry. It's almost 1 o'clock. That's not a clear question at all. So what are your thoughts about going ahead today? Or let's go ahead today, or let's take it off the market. There's one of 15 at least that I know of. So, and it's going to be comfortable for you to say it. I think that there's this Jekyll and Hyde thing that I mentioned earlier, where sometimes books on closing is like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. It's like, I've never said that in my life. I just couldn't say it. It sounds cheesy. I'll just say, Beth, you seem to like the home. You love the home site. Let's go ahead. That's it. That's my big close. So clear, concise, comfortable for you to say are the three things. But I believe at this point, you'll have really earned the right. If they're not ready to go ahead, this is the next part, Act 3. We're going to close at our seat. So never negotiate on your feet. Always close at your seat. So kids out there listening, salespeople, sales managers, please don't put all your eggs in the closing basket only on site. That's a good beginning point. Impulsive people will say, yeah, this is great. I'm just assumptive and emotional and connecting with them. So we'll say, let's go back and recap. And that's really, for me, where the real magic happens. As I said, I learned this so many years ago, and so many people that I didn't think were going to buy did buy at the end of the recap. But I think it was one of your salespeople, Beth. I don't remember her name anymore. I'm so sorry. But she said, Roland, I'm not really good on your recap close thing. I went, oh, it's not a recap to close. It's a recap to help. Let's get out of our minds that we're closing people. We should be helping people. There's a lot of moving parts in building. It's exciting, but it's complicated. And objections are usually based around the fear of the unknown. And so let's go back and recap to make it easy to understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The net result is you will sell a lot more homes. The buyers will understand it. But if you just put yourself in their shoes and go, let's build a home on paper together, let's have fun with it. So even if you didn't have that technology, you still would get out there. You'd go back, sit down, get out the map of the area and verify they like the location. You'd get the home site map, and you talk about the community and the amenities that they like. Then you'd get the home sites and you'd verify that. And then you'd get the home plan and you'd start with the outside and which of these three architectural style. Okay, it's the farmhouse with the transitional elements here. And then let's walk through the home plan together and build it on paper and price it for you. And then let's show you the monthly investment. Well, guess what? That 15 to 20 minutes every time with a customer leads to so many sales over time.
Absolutely. That recap as a service is important. And, I want to call out another little feature here that's fun. Maybe you have two co-buyers and they don't agree.
Yes.
So let's build two
that never
different
happens.
homes. Oh, no, never. Let's build out two options. I'm logging in as if I'm a builder and let's go to my favorites. And let's say, okay, let's compare two. Let's look at the two different home sites. Let's compare the two different floor plans. Let's look at the colors. I didn't make selections on the second one. But let's look at this side by side and help you decide which one is going to be a better fit. And you know what? You can actually have a custom brochure by downloading a QR code or emailing it right to you with all of this information. So rather than having to print out a copy of the floor plan and then take a picture of some color swatches and then send them a copy of the map, everything is in one place. All of this information is a brochure that's custom to them with the selections that they made.
Brilliant. Yeah. And because confusion leads to indecision. I mean, how many times you have customers come back time and time again because they really are confused. So part of our life as salespeople is, the consultative approach is to really think about how we can help them. So yeah, in my viewpoint, I was just narrowing down that one plan, but you're right. Maybe they are between two very different homes, and there's a push me, pull you thing, yin and yang going on between that couple. So this could be a great way to find that tiebreaker where you can really have the architectural style they like, the floor plan, the structural features, price them both out. If they're financing, show them what the comparative monthly investment would be with their down payment, their investment, and then all of a sudden they should be able to find the tiebreaker that way. Or perhaps you'll sell them two homes. No, I'm just
Yeah, that monthly investment is important too. So open the mortgage calculator. Okay, let's talk through this
yes,
a little more. Let's adjust your down payment. We wish the interest rate was 5.5, but guess what? It's more like 6.9 right now. So
yes,
but you know what? We have a special buy down option that we could do
yep,
from our lender. Let's look at what a 5.99 would be. So make those
yep.
adjustments and you can work with them all in one tool. You're not opening a separate app. You're not jumping to another place. It's
No, that's
all in
lovely.
one.
Yeah.
And it's adjusting. So then they say, I guess we could afford that home site premium for that site right on the water that we really
Well,
love
right.
because we're showing them their monthly payment.
Right. Right. And all sales really is about that difference of what they thought they were going to spend versus what it really is. But if you can't get to that number, you're never going to know. And they'll just keep circling the airport without landing. Or there are different theories out there. I have, every now and again, a salesperson will say, well, I don't really like to do numbers, I'll have them call the bank lender, which is, I get it. It's that makes sense. But maybe they aren't there yet. Maybe they're really not ready to. It's intimidating for a lot of people. In 2025, we should have the ability somehow to show monthly investment to our customers. I have a free app. If you email me afterwards, if you're not doing this part of it, then you can just do the app part. Ideally, it's on your program, which I absolutely love. So it's just so seamless where you're getting to the end of the emotional part of it with here's your home on your home site with your finishes, here's your colors. Would you like me to show you what the approximate monthly investment would be? I think it's important to put the word approximate in because maybe we don't know their credit, their debt ratios, etc.
Mhm.
But it's a guideline for them. And then all of a sudden, well, that's actually not bad. Or it's slightly more. Well, how much too much? Like you can't negotiate against air or a vacuum, or you can't help them. So this says 2183. What did you have in mind? Well, I want to go over 2,000. Well, how did you arrive at that? Well, we just think that's what it should be. Okay, well, is there anything we can take out? No. What about doing a buy down? What if we had a program, where we have an incentive, we could use it towards buying the rate down permanently. Let me show you what that would do. Oh, look at this. Yeah, we're right. Whatever it is, I'm saying things quickly because on this webinar we have professionals that do this every day, and so it gives you the power, it gives you the control to be able to ask them, can we take out that extended patio? Let me show it to you with the way it comes. It looks, people like it, it's popular. Oh, okay, and that gets you on this, but you can do all of that face to face in real time and just make a ton more sales instead of having them come back 7 or 8 times, torturing themselves over, we like it, but we just think it's a bit much, or if they will verbalize that, which they often don't.
It makes
So
a
yeah,
huge difference when you present the numbers. And again, when I was selling, we had to do it by hand. And so now
yes,
to have a tool like this where you have visualized the home of your dreams and you have the number right next to it, it just makes it a lot more
yes,
tangible for the buyer. And it's easier to say
yes,
yes if that falls into what they were thinking. And if it doesn't,
right,
then again, you can come up with, ways to overcome those objections instead of them leaving and then continuing on in this dreamland where like they're imagining they're paying $1,000 for a 500K home and wasting more
yes.
and more of your time.
I had an owner of a company in Canada, Jay Westman, excuse me, who about 4 years ago, he got up in front of the whole group of about 100 salespeople, and he said, I want you to make price irrelevant, which I really love that idea. It was like a shocking statement, but what he meant was do this, get people to fall in love enough, and then that price objection melts away. So to paraphrase Jay, really, we all know that buyers will compromise if they fall in love enough. Now, you might have a first-time buyer that is bumping up against the ceiling of what they can really qualify for. So I understand that, but even that this tool would help you to understand it. But if we can understand the art of compromise, that if you get them to fall in love enough with this, well, I can justify what that difference of $100 a month is, what, $3 or $4 a day. It was the $3.50 a day. I think I'm okay with that. That's a cup of coffee or a dinner out that I don't need to have. So I'll compromise to get my dream home. But if they don't understand what their dream home looks like or feels like, then they wouldn't want to fight for it. So let's try to make price irrelevant by getting to fall in love as best we can. But then we can still manage objections in a smart way with price. All right. Well, good. There's not really an act four technically, but follow up. If you don't get the sale, then we're going to immediately make an appointment with a purpose to come back. So we could use our technology for that, of course, and put it in our Outlook calendars. And then with follow up, any other tips on follow up and technology? And then let's wrap up on time, which is always shocking with me that I'm going to do anything in time.
I will say these are great resources to send back to the buyer. So maybe make a brochure with a different version, maybe that they hadn't thought of.
Oh,
So
sure.
I remember you telling me, go back to that kitchen they love and snap a picture. Well, if you can't do that, what if you
Right.
make the virtual kitchen? What if you design it with some new colors and
Yeah.
cool exterior you think they'd like, and
Brilliant.
and then hit that get brochure and email it to the buyer and say,
Yeah.
I know that you'd like these things. I thought about kind of a unique way to put it together. It fits
I
in your
love it.
budget. Here's an option for you. It's just one more tool
Yeah.
to send thoughtful follow-up that's not just checking in.
Yeah, for me, is the best tip of the day is I'm always trying to think of ways to creatively get back in front of customers, especially your A's and your B's, the ones that you had some connection and it's just maybe a matter of timing or whatever. And so what a great way to, maybe it takes you 10 minutes to prepare and then you go, I just was thinking about you today. I know you said you were thinking of this home site or this color scheme. So I just put this together for you. Let me know if you can come back. They go, wow, what a thoughtful thing. And, we talk about the fact that the average buying time is between 8 to 10 months. So if they were in 6 months ago and now you're consistently staying in front of them with nice personalized information like that and putting the effort into creating their dream home, that's going to get a response. You're going to get to hear what's really going on, which is fantastic. So I love it.
Make it very personal. If you think about
Yes.
your other shopping experiences, whether it's online or in person, personalization is such a huge trend. We expect it now as consumers. And so whatever
Right.
you follow up with something that's been personalized for you, it's not mass to everybody, doesn't apply
Right.
to me, not relevant to me. That kind of stuff gets you to just, unsubscribe.
Right.
But when it's
Right.
personalized to your needs and wants, that's going to get
Right.
their attention.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I think that there's almost a sense of obligation to get back to you. It's quite easy to tune somebody out when you know that it's a mass email that you sent to, but there's nothing personal about it. But when you said, "Hey, I was just thinking about you," and blah blah blah, I made this home for you, kind of stuff. Like, oh gosh, I need to call her or let her know that I'm about 2 months away still. I pushed it back longer because of whatever, but that person's going to have a much greater sense of obligation to want to connect with you and want to let you into what's going on. It's very easy to keep salespeople at arms. But once you start interacting, it might be never ending, in the buyer's mind, I think, heuristically. So yeah, this is brilliant. I absolutely love it. Well,
So
good.
guys, we have about 5 minutes left. I know we
Yes.
promised some potential books
I
to
was going to say, yeah. Yes. I
Roland,
have my question.
I'm gonna let you do the giveaway while I share your guys' contact
Thank you.
if somebody wants to get in touch with you.
Yes. All right. Perfect. I'm going to say a question that I mentioned, and I mentioned a moment, and then please email me. It's roland@newhomesalesplus.com. So the first 3 people that get this right will get the book. So my question is, what did I say the 3 elements of a closing question had to be? I said there were 3 things a closing question had to be. It is in my book. I'll write back and get your address, and I'll be happy to handwrite a message and send you a book. How's that sound?
Ooh,
But
Laura,
don't put it on the chat. Somebody, you got to email it to me if you want the book. But I think
we've
I'm
got
not
one
looking.
answer in the chat. I think Laura is a
Yeah.
winner.
Who was that? Who was that lovely person? I'm being so mean. Who was that lovely person? Laura
That is
something?
Laura. So we will send a copy of Laura. Laura will get your
Laura
contact
did it on the chat.
details.
So yeah. So we need to,
Very good.
pop me an email, Laura. That looked like it was the right answer. I'm not going to say it in case the others haven't written in yet. So
And if
there
you
we
don't know
go.
the answer, you still want to get the answer, it's right here in the book. And the book is great.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
thick, but
Oh, thank you for that. It's
it's
cute.
got pictures, it's got big text. So,
Yes, because I
it's
can't see.
great, for sure.
Yes, and I've got one coming out in the spring on mastery of negotiation, and then it's buts after that. My third one is going to be about objections.
Beth, when you said you love Roland's different expressions, I was going to say my favorite is Roland's, he loves big butts. So
Yeah, it's a weird thing to say. I apologize for all of that, but we do love those big butts, which are no big objections. So what can you say? So embrace those butts. Not really, because you might get arrested for that kind of
exactly.
behavior.
Everyone has a big old butt. Yes, they do.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Embrace the butts for sure. So, but you
We
guys,
like
thank
Laura.
you so very much for staying till the end, for joining us on today's webinar. I hope you learned a lot. Our next webinar, which is going to be on February 5th, is actually going to be specific to our clients. So if you're an Anewgo client, be on the lookout for an email. I'll get that information out, and it's going to be a training session with Beth on selling inventory. As we know, inventory is starting to pile up a little bit right now. So we're going to teach you how to use Anewgo tools to really help you move that inventory. And of course, we're going to have our regular webinars coming up as well. We're probably going to skip the month of February because of International Builder Show. And how many of you guys are coming to the International Builder Show? Yay!
Well, you're going to be at the sales rally. Don't forget to tell everybody you'll be there on the
Yes,
main
I'm
stage.
excited. I'm going to be a part of the sales rally this year. So I've already had 2 nightmares about it. So I'm
Yeah.
the board, so I don't, I'm not going to be deer in the headlights, hopefully.
Oh, you'll be great. Beth was amazing last year. I know you've got other programs, both of you. I'm sure John does as well. I have programs there. Well, one with some managers, which is going to be amazing, and then one on AI. And is AI going to take over sales? So we'll all be busy seeing each other. I can't wait. I just want to thank you so much to you and to both of you and Anewgo. You guys do an amazing job in our industry. You're really a very cutting edge with what you do, and you really understand builders' needs. So many of the clients I work with utilize what you have and just absolutely love it. They love the service. They love the increased sales that they have over it. So thank you for being one of the industry leaders there and leading the way.
Thank you so much for being a part of
No problem.
today's webinar with us. We appreciate it. And again, guys, if you want a copy of your own book and you didn't get it, make sure you get it. It's available on Amazon.
Yes.
So it's called, again, Mastery of Selling for New Homes. Thank you,
Right.
everybody, for staying here. And we will see you hopefully at the International Builder Show or on our next webinar. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.